Spooky's been doing so great this weekend.
Unlucky.
Look, I guess he's just not on any sets anymore.
Spooky just lost all of his fans. They are gone.
Everyone like, oh man, this guy's really doing real. Like, and he has like legitimately doing real good on the desk, real good on the cast. But apparently he has bad taste. And you know what? We need something to offset it, right? If he's going to be eating well-done steaks, he has to have good taste somewhere, and that's where I've got good news for him. You can get an Alienware laptop or an Alienware PC, at least have some good taste somewhere, and make that in your PCs. You too can have good taste out there by eating medium rare steaks, the objectively correct answer, and by getting your Alienwares by going to SMITEgame.com/Alienware and using code AWSMITE09 to make sure that you get out on some sweet discounts, as well as going to Alienware on Instagram and Twitter, making sure that you follow them, and AlienwareArena.com to join their global community for giveaways and more. So thanks to Alienware for coming back for Season 9. And thanks to Trelly for hanging out with me on the desk here for the last set. This is the second day in a row. Last set, it's just me and you hanging.
Yeah, I'm just here to hang out with you. I'm not even on the clock. I left.
They did cut it. I'm glad we had a lot of them in there. I think everyone's answer for the most part, it was either well done, as in like, or not well done, was medium rare in a like, well duh,
yeah,
or medium rare. Also, you're either a terrible person, or you've got bad taste buds, or you deserve to be fired. Like every single one of them. Mine got cut, which was and I think if you choose anything other than that, you're a terrible person. And I stand by those words, and that's why I said them here. You said you liked medium.
Yeah.
Explain.
I mean, I'm not gonna have well done, but like
yeah.
I prefer medium.
You don't mind it to be a little extra cooked, like a little bit of pink in the middle, but not like.
Yeah, I like it pink, but my mom from a young age would like look at my dad's steaks and go like, because she doesn't like seeing the blood. So then I was like then conditioned to not like seeing it as well. But I'll still eat it. I like it.
My older sister likes them rare, and she'll even tell the waiter like, hey, if it comes out mooing, that's probably best, right? And she has gotten some pretty rare steaks because of that. Either way, we can look at the schedule and get back on track here for some Smite. You know what? I bet there's a whole ass argument in chat right now about specifically steaks well done. There's someone in there defending well done. I can see it. Either way, we're going to be going into Leviathans. It's just spooky. We got Leviathans and Titans coming up next here. 2-0s all day so far. Every set except for last night's Wardens versus Scorpions set has been a 2-0. And Trelly, I'm going to be honest with you. If I thought of another one that was going to go 3, it's going to be this one, right? Leviathans Titans, World's Finals rematch. We've seen it, honestly, quite a few times, way more than I would have expected since Finals this year or earlier this year. And it's one I expect that we're going to see a lot more, right? Phase 3 is still coming up on us. And these two teams just seem to find each other no matter what. Wardens are going to be waiting for whoever ends up falling down. The Titans, though, a team that has been kind of mixed performance in Phase 2, right? Towards the end, more on the rise.
Right.
Leviathans, definitely a mixed bag as well. But when you look at where these teams are finding success, we talked a lot about Cyclone switching from warriors back to carries. We've
yes.
talked a lot about like Sot on this team, Paul and kind of stepping down or maybe away from just like the single, hey, if Paul's going to carry, they'll win, and if not, oh well. And we've talked a lot about junglers. Instead, we can look towards Aror, right? And let me tell you, mind like a steel trap. It is ridiculous. If you ask Aror what was going on in a quarterfinal for Season 2 Worlds, he's going to be able to tell you the teams that played. He'll probably be able to tell you the drafts. It's wild how much he remembers and how cognizant he is of Smite. And you get to see that not only in mechanics and gameplay, but in draft and in discussions for the team.
Yeah, definitely one of the premier support players that we have in the league based on, not only what you were talking about, just a great mind for the game, understands it extremely well, how the support role works in its entirety, right? You want to be able to maximize your CC, set up for your team. You want to be able to dive and go in and set up, but also stay back and peel, and I think Aror, one of the players that does that extremely well, and just has such an eclectic god pool as well, plays the meta gods better than just about anyone, right? The Kepris, the Yemojas, has to be on the case, but he's not afraid to go to, the Atlas, the Ymir, different styles of play that, can change how you influence a map, cutting off these areas with a wall or, just picking someone up for your team. And I think that's what you're looking for in a support player, is to be able to play whatever the team needs, and I think that's what Aror does.
And you know what? Again, it's been very phenomenal. Like, even just watching that one, right? Just presence of mind in the middle of the team fight. A good wall that says, hey, I'm going to block you off, and then I'm going to go body block the rest of it. Like, anything like that, where he's not playing for kills, he's playing for the team,
Absolutely.
and he does it incredibly well. Not only would I say that, I think there was a period of time, he had like 3 kills, and this is like, I'm looking at like either week 6 or week 7, I was updating this. He had like 3 kills in the phase because it was like he wasn't about getting them. He was just letting his team set it up. It was always fun to watch, and it's always a treat to be able to talk to him. And you don't have to take my word for it. We got Mifflin standing by with the Titans.
I'm here with the Tartarus Titans, and I'm going to start off with SOT. Sot, I've not made any how do I word this? I'm very willing to say that I think you're the most mechanical player in the world, but I want to hear it from you. Who do you think is the most mechanical player?
I always thought Paul was, honestly, like, for the longest time. Like, I met him in, like, 2017, and I'm like, I thought this dude was, like, really good.
You thought?
Yeah, and now I know.
Oh, okay. So we're locking in Paul?
Yep.
All right, fair enough. SOT, ever the humble man. KP, chaotic purpose, layers of death, layers of life, now just layers. Who would you say is the most influential jungler in your own playstyle?
Outside of myself,
Outside of your stuff, like, yeah, who would you say has influenced you?
adapting or like,
Well, maybe like a console guy?
Mifflin.
That's right.
Yeah.
Paul, SOT has, no trepidation in saying that he thinks that you're the most mechanical player. Who do you think the most mechanical player is?
Oh, I think it's pretty close. I don't know, dude. It always changes, so I can't really give you an answer to that, honestly. So, I mean,
That's cool, bro. I didn't want an answer, man. Aror, what's it like, man? Just like day in the life of Aror.
It's just living. I don't know.
2 I don't knows. I was told that we could wrap the interview there, but I refuse. I'm not ending on 2 IDKs. Cyclone, what's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Chocolate chip cookie dough.
I really thought he was going to say, I don't know. I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. Tartarus Titans, we'll see if they got it against the Levi's.
Charlie can attest to it. I was also hoping for him to say, I don't know, because that would have just been, look, pure comedy to flatline Mifflin like that one. But Sot calling Paul maybe the most mechanical player. Paul saying it changes. Mifflin calling Sot the most mechanical player. Chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream. That's what I got out of that interview.
That's all you
and
need to
Mifflin
get out.
coercing layers into saying that he was an influential jungler. We all know that's a lie. Either way, we can go to the other side of this one and look at who they are going up against. It's the Leviathans, your world champions, the 3-time standing up back there. He was getting some fuel prior to the game. But, of course, we're looking at the guy actually one step closer. Ronngyu, who easily, I'm going to just say best Yamoja in the world.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I think that it's pretty easy to say that that can also translate to one of the best, insert a support god here in the world as well.
Yeah, Ronngyu just an incredibly mechanical player. And, when Paul was saying, it changes, I think he was influencing by saying, I'm not going to say it's Ronngyu, but it certainly could be. He doesn't get enough
I
credit.
don't want to say that about my opponent, like, before the game.
Yeah, exactly. Ronngyu doesn't get enough credit because he's a support player. He doesn't make the flashy big kill plays, but what he does do is make the flashy setup plays for his team, always on point, making sure that his team's able to succeed. And I think, the same style of players, the same amount of praise that we were giving towards Aror about, not getting too many kills, making sure that his teammates are able to flourish and get them that golden XP, things of that nature. I think Rongyu's got to be in that same boat, right? He plays the supporty style of supports. He also can flex to the more damage dealers. I think Yamoja a little bit in the middle in that case, able to heal a ton, but also do a good bit of damage in the rivers, stuff like that. But Ronngyu just such a mechanical master of this role. He's able to do crazy plays like this where it's just, knowing your damage numbers while also facilitating your team. It's just the style of support that you love to see.
Trelly, I was just thinking about this, and the pattern for the Leviathans as a whole is an interesting one, right? Season 7, this squad, granted it's Netroid, not Zap, that's playing for him at that time. Come in, and they dominate in the regular season, and they don't do well during tournaments. Season 8, they do a little worse overall. Like, they're still top of the standings in terms of how things go. But they start performing better at their tournaments, right? They're not winning too many in the middle of the season. Then they win the World Championship. And you start to think, okay, well, hey, maybe they're onto something here. And now, look, here's where things are going to have to fall down, and that's just that they have not been having a great year so far after the championship itself. And to me, that means they're going for the repeat, right?
Yeah,
They're going lower in the standings because it raises their tournament chances. Maybe that's how it works. Who knows? As you can see the player comparison here, a little more kills for Aror there, even though he had kind of abandoned getting as many as he could for as long as possible. Him and Neil, I think, were towards the bottom. Ronngyu as well on that list, though. And one thing, first off, I can't help but notice now that we have like the support graphic, like how low the GPM is in comparison. Everybody else, your 525s, 530s supports. 465, 455. Yeah, we're farming. Cool. But, able to come out here, set up a lot of plays. That assist column is really where they make their bread and butter, right? It's not their damage. It's not their GPM or their kills or even their KDA that you care about, although those are nice. It is that assist column, that setup, and what they bring for their team. So I would not be surprised if this is maybe a little more support heavy on both sides just because of what we've seen. Granted, I think it's only like 1 or 2 supports right now that you have to get rid of. So maybe we'll just get to see some phenomenal play from the two of them.
Yeah, certainly could be the case. Leviathans are going to lead off with that Khepri ban. I don't think either one of these teams want to deal with the Khepri, so smart call there. And then the Tartarus Titans answer back immediately with that Osiris. Panitom has been having a field day on that pick, just chopping away with that early pressure. So I think right to try and target the jungle of the Atlantis Leviathans. Following that with the Nemesis, and it looks like the Leviathans are staying on that track. This time, though, taking away Paul's E-set, something that he has been extremely comfortable on, and just, I don't think I ever want to see Paul's E-set again. And it's not because I don't like watching it, it's because it doesn't feel fair.
It's the alternative, right? It's too good. It should not be allowed to be in games. Like, it's a competitive disadvantage for anyone who's up against it. Paul is just that good at it. So they banned that. They banned the Chernobog as well. And you had mentioned the Khepri. Erlong Shin. I mean, the Nemesis, the Osiris. I'm over here thinking that, Yamoja, who has been a very prominent pick for both of these squads, maybe one of the most winning gods that the Leviathans have played ever, when they get it on their squad, was going to be banned. But they strictly focus out Panitom here, and the Leviathans kind of surprised me. They go for the Cabrakan first.
Yeah, it looks like they could be going for that Cabrakan mid, or just holding on to the ambiguity of the pick. You could always flex it into other roles. Notably, that does leave the Yamoja back open if the Leviathans do want to grab it here. But it looks like the Titans will just grab Lancelot, which has been having a great performance in the jungle specifically, but also flexing over to solo as well. Been looking super good. I think just a very nice pick to have, as well as the Cupid, who I'm going to repeat what I just said about Lancelot. Also been looking extremely solid. Just a great team fight hunter. Can force out relics super easily and control space extremely well. So Leviathans will just entirely look over that Yamoja pick and grab the Ratatosker for some early pressure, some early stuns, things like that. And just the Discordia, which we've been seeing a ton lately. I think that one doesn't have to be explained too much. The passive is very highly valued, as well as a ton of CC to bring these fights.
Now, Charlie, I'm going to be completely honest with you.
Please do.
I would have, and easily would have thought that there was no doubt in my mind that Yamoja was going to be a top 3 for the Leviathans.
Of course.
I'm floored that they
Flabbergasted.
did not get it. I mean, and to the point where, again, just bringing up some of the things versus the Leviathans this year. Yamoja has been banned 45 times, and that's not including this tournament. So a couple of days ago, that's probably up to like 47 now, right? The next highest ban versus them is Daji at 22. Like, it's not even close. It is so wild. And you know what? That number's going to go up, because I cannot imagine that they think, if you're the Titans here, you go, hey, you know what? Let's let the Yamoja through the second ban, or second phase of bans. Although, right now, that's a Daji. They locked in the King Arthur, though. That's something else I was going to talk about. Lancelot kind of took that place. King Arthur, Cupid has been a very common top 2 when they're both open. And they still managed to grab both. So, King Arthur, I would argue either were, maybe versus the Cabrakan, maybe versus the Ratatosker, something that we've seen a couple of times. Lancelot also matching up towards one of those two. Feels like it's going to be a very interesting dynamic, I think, for the solo lane, however it goes.
Yeah, the Tartarus Titans are just choosing to ban out junglers here, so pretty confident that Cabrakan is going over to support with Ronngyu piloting. And then the Ratatosker will go in that solo lane, which still leaves over Panitom's pick notably the Erlong Shen and the Osiris taken away, the Nemesis. That's just 5 junglers. I just realized the Titans are only putting presence on the Panitom. They don't want anyone else. They take whatever you want. We just want to make sure that Panitom is not on one of these pressure junglers. If you're taking out Lancelot, I mean, that adds another. But because Ratatoskr is already picked, it's possible the Leviathans just make a pivot and say, you know what, Panitom, take the rat.
Like, man, you want rat? Like,
yeah, we can just give it to you and say you wasted 5 bans. That's always a call to be had. And now we get to see what the Tartarus Titans are holding. Could be getting Paul's pick, but it looks like Aror is going to be grabbing that Ganesha and saving Paul's pick for last. You know, with the Hela and the Morgan being taken away, the E-set as well has to dive pretty deep here. But Paul's been around for a while. I'm sure he's got something in the back pocket.
Ganesh locked in. And like you said, Paul maybe having to reach a little deep, but
oh no,
he's been around for a little while. That oh no, for those of you who are curious, the last time we saw Giannis for the Leviathans and Trelly, maybe there was one more recent, but
nope.
I can only remember the support game.
Yep.
Umoja's available.
Yep.
Just throwing it out there.
I mean, well, you know, let's just bring up the fact that if that Janus got locked in, that would mean Cabrakan in solo, the rat in jungle, and then this would be the duo lane locked in, the Janus Medusa. So notably, it has been hovered before, but not locked in. I've seen the Janus hovered by the Leviathans, where they're like, hey, should we just do it for fun and then switch? Certainly a possibility. So we'll have to see if that is something Leviathans are concerned about. Notably, the Huang is also still up.
Shelly, I've never felt this nervous.
I am Umoja.
Oh, there
yes!
it is.
Oh! Whew. Okay.
Yeah, that's what we thought. I mean, come on. That Janus was obviously a placeholder for the Umoja.
Yeah, they were just trolling.
Yeah, of course. And the Medusa will be the lock-in there. So actually going to be that Ratatoskr in the jungle. So it looks like the Titans did end up wasting a few of those bans in the second slot. But it's possible they made that transition once they saw those bans. And it will actually be the Merlin locked in here in that last slot. So the Huang, man, has really fallen down because I thought that would be something that Paul would like to go to here. But I think Merlin's going to bring a ton of late-game presence and just big AoE damage. That it's actually pretty easy to deal with Discordia as well. If you can force that dash with one of your abilities, or the leap rather, your other abilities just cover the whole entirety of that invisibility field. Like, there's no way she's hiding.
You know you're going to be able to get that damage. Good news, bad news for Discordia. That also means that, like, hey, staying in there to get some of that cooldown, you're going to get hit.
Oh, yeah.
There's no avoiding that. This is an interesting draft, I think, from both squads, right? We're getting some picks, admittedly, for the Leviathans, some that are fresh, right? Discordia, the Rat, the Cabrakan. Oh, the Rat's been around a while. I would argue, like, the last year and a half, he's kind of been hovering around for everybody. The Cabrakan may be more on the rise. The Medusa was huge earlier this year.
Oh, yeah.
And even at the first Masters, I think that was, like, right after she got her big buff. And now things are kind of like okay, curious, like, where are we going to go with this one? How does that match up into Cupid, right? I feel like we've seen a lot of different hunters chosen into that one, but how does it work for Medusa?
Yeah, I think the Medusa and the Cupid matchup is one that you're just trading ult for ult. Whenever you see a Cupid, you're finding someone that can trade ult for ult and not have to use a relic for Fields of Love. Using Petrify, you're probably still going to take that damage from Fields of Love unless you can just like zoom on out of there and with like a sprint or something like that. But you're still going to be able to return a ton of damage, and I think that's probably why. Because if you're charging up Petrify into a Fields of Love, I mean, the CycloneSpin can't look at you like to try and follow up with that damage.
Yeah.
He's got to turn around. By the time he looks back, you're probably already gone. You dashed away. So I think that's got to be the play style here. And then just tons of late game damage. The Silver Branch kin size build has been coming back pretty hard. And Medusa's got one of the best stims in the game. So I imagine still going to be sitting pretty fine. The issue has always been how easy it is to block Lacerate, how easy it is to block that dash. Zap's going to have to position pretty well.
I want to look at the other side of the map, because the other side of the map is actually where things I think can get very interesting. King Arthur's been a bully as of late. Cabrakan, we've gotten used to seeing for mid when the Leviathans lock it in. How do you feel about a Cabrakan, not just solo, but also then up against a King Arthur?
I'm going to act like I didn't just see that. Anyways, yeah, Cabrakan solo's got a lot of different stuns, so I think you're going to have some good pressure up in that lane.
Well, we'll see. How much pressure can he get? Is it going to be a lot? Is it going to be a little? It's a rematch of the World's Finals, and it's game one with Dimes and Myth.
Atlantis Leviathans taking on the Tartarus Titans, the final best-of-3 here on Promotion Day at the SMITE Summer Masters event. As Gore so kindly introduced Dimes here, Mifflin alongside me, bringing you the action at home. And this Tartarus Titans team going 2 for 3 with Arthurian Gods, got layers on that Lancelot in the jungle. also somehow grabbing that King Arthur for the solo lane. Meanwhile, the Levi's with pressure in the duo lane with that Yemoja combining with the Medusa.
Yeah, I am curious about the pacing the Leviathans are trying to establish with this style of composition. Generally, when Cabrakan's locked in, I was just assuming to myself, like, yeah, that's probably going to support, right? Like, and then Yemoja comes through a little bit later. So Jarcorrr should be able to establish pressure. I also briefly considered Cabrakan towards mid because Sheento's been so apt to go towards it there. So where will the Leviathans try and stake their aggression throughout the early? It's got to be wherever Panitom chooses, right? I mean, with that global presence, it's kind of up to him. But looking at the composition of the Tartarus Titans, no easy ganks for this Ratatasker. I suppose the easiest is probably going to be Paul in mid, but generally if you're fighting in mid, it's around that 8 to 9 minute mark, which means that it's not just against Paul, it's against the 3-man core of the Tartarus Titans. Otherwise, maybe CycloneSpin. Whereas the Titans, they've just got pressure to play through just about everywhere, haven't they? I mean, you could have layers show up and try and make it a little bit more aggressive, but a Cupid lane should be able to hold its own. SOT on King Arthur, the most potent lane bully in the solo lane. Paul, decent wave clear, maybe the only lane lacking pressure, so maybe the decision's made for layers. Just go mid.
Yeah, your only real concern there on the Merlin is that long cooldown on the flicker, right? So once you burn it, you're kind of down a little bit as Jarcorrr getting targeted down here by the combination of SOT and layers. Panitom forced out as well. So already this 2v2 from the Levi's getting shoved out. SoloOrTroll looking for that final shot onto the jungler for the Levi's, isn't able to find it. But Jarcorrr and Panitom shoved back under tower there by SOT and layers.
Yeah, Rat just does not have the same damage output as a Lancelot this early on into the game. So don't fight him, maybe. And I think Panitom, thankfully, learns that lesson a little bit early in this match, about a minute in. So Layers maybe doesn't get first blood for the usage of his blink, but does at least get those beads off of Jarcorrr, which means that if at first you don't succeed, maybe you circle back, try again.
Yeah, and talking about relics here, notably a beads pickup for the Ratatasker. So level 5 is going to be the real ganking point for Panitom. Once this ultimate comes online, you can go through the cosmic tree, you can smash down on Paul. That's really what you're looking for. Otherwise, you're going to have to commit the dart, that movement ability from the Ratatasker to commit to a gank, and that's not exactly what you're looking for with, you know, no mobility. All of a sudden, you're caught in between multiple members of the Titans, and down you go there. But let's talk about this duo lane. We touched on it right before action kicked off over on that solo side. Aror and CycloneSpin combining on this Ganesh and Cupid, that just tells me so much lockdown on objectives, right? Ganesh can drop those pillars, Cupid can drop that ultimate as well to create space for the team, so you're thinking maybe early objectives for the Titans here.
Well, the Titans don't really have objectives secure, so it would be difficult in that situation. A lot of coin tosses, I'm thinking. That's not to say that the Leviathans have got like the best secure in the game or anything like that. Golden Apple, sure, all right, but maybe just Strife plus Unruly Magic. The highest DPS or highest single target damage that you could see on an objective. But what the Tartarus Titans do have is just a ridiculous amount of burn. Paul on this Merlin in the fire stance makes short work of Pyromancers and Gold Furies, Dharmic Pillars. Of course, one of the highest DPS abilities in the entirety of Smite. Also shreds that defense. I'm thinking the Tartarus Titans could try and leverage that for some sneaky objectives, but you kind of don't want to do it in the face of the Leviathans.
Sure, and as the Levi's are scaling into the middle game a little bit deeper as we're just after 3 minutes here, this is going to be quite a few minutes off here. But when you're thinking team fight, I mean, this Yemoja's got the Rivers of Rebuke online. Medusa is, am I fair to say, one of the best team fighting ultimates out of a Hunter with that Petrifying Gaze. You can affect an entire team.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
One of the best. What would we quantify as one of the like top 5?
So I mean, Sunbreakers is a great
That's
zoning
really
ultimate, right? Tons of damage. Fields of Love also provides
Caledonian Boar,
right? Big time bounces around.
Yep.
You know, but the same thing with the Petrifying Gaze. If you come around a corner, we've seen Medusa's able to catch entire teams in that gaze, and if not straight up slowing them down, catching 3 members in a stun before they can react with the beats.
Yeah, I would argue it's pretty strong in that regard, but pretty difficult to actually find that stun against some of the best players in the world. Panitom forced to use those beads defensively. Good ultimate from SOT to force that out, but now that I'm looking at it, Levi's Penta beads pickup, I don't think they want to fight early on. Maybe they're just playing for that late game team fight.
Yeah.
So Panitom not too concerned about losing out on those beads. If you're not looking to get active on the map, just farm up instead. Might as well go ahead and use it to strip away some of that farm in the jungle and walk yourself back.
Talk me through the scaling of this Lancelot in the jungle. We've seen it in the jungle. We've seen it in solo. First of all, where do you sit on this character? Which role do you prefer Lancelot to go into? Let's start there.
Well, I figure Lancelot's much better in solo, just because he's so much more consistent there, way easier to stack up a Soul Eater. You don't really need to worry about the pacing of your build. And one of the primary weaknesses of Lancelot is he dives really, really far, and he doesn't get to choose when to stop. That ultimate is a one-way trip into the backline. And if you're not very tanky, you just gotta hope that you're winning the DPS battle. And in the latest portions of the game, if you're a raw assassin build, I'm not still certain that you're actually 100 to 0ing people.
All right, so Mifflin prefers this Lancelot in the solo lane. Layers completely ignoring you, taking it into the jungle. Got a Jotun's Wrath here for the first pickup for this Lancelot. Talk me through scaling, you know, power spikes. When are you getting active? What levels are you looking at for this Lancelot to start aggressing? If this Lancelot is even looking to aggress in this early game here against the Levi's.
I'd say levels like 6 through 12 feel really, really good for Lancelot. That's the portion where his DPS likely does win out. Jotun's Wrath does slow down your power spike a bit, instead gives you more presence in the team fight, gives you a little bit additional CDR. I really like to see when Lancelot is in the jungle just raw damage. I want that first rotation of abilities to shut down whoever your target is, because for the most part, you're not the most survivable god. You're not sticking around in that fight for an incredibly long time, unless you're just like sitting max range, throwing out spectral horses to poke out. And if you're doing that, you're probably not playing Lancelot to the best of his capacity. So instead, had it not been Jotun's, maybe like a Brawler's Beat Stick, a Crusher in that slot. We've been seeing a whole lot of the Erendite as well. That does allow you to get active, but compared to a Beads Ratatasker, I'm thinking Layers can just go get active whenever he wants. He's got a pretty large window starting about a minute ago for him to do just about anything on the map. That said, Penta Beads pickup. It's not exactly the easiest thing to get.
20 more seconds here before Ratatasker's beads come back online for the jungler for the Levi. Slow and steady here as we approach 7 minutes. Not even a sniff at an invade from either of these teams thus far. Buffs respawn, come back online. Grand Scorpions go down as well to each of their respective squads. So no look here from either the Levi's or the Titans. Triple stacking coming out for the Titans, only double stacking there for the Levi's. So the mid laners are looking to just clear waves, stack up those Warlock staff. Same thing goes for the Gauntlet of Thebes and that Transcendence built on CycloneSpin. It's mostly just clearing waves, looking for farm here in the early goings.
Yeah, both of these teams really want to advance through this set, don't want to get knocked into that loser's bracket. So clean play seems to be the name of the game. Nobody leaving it up to risk as of now. A vote of confidence from both of these squads at their late game team fight as well. If you don't think you can win out in a true 5-on-5, you're not taking this pace. Both these teams have decided to take a more subdued pace to the early, which means that they're confident in their abilities, and both of these compositions certainly have got their strengths. Curious to see this, though. Panitom rotating through.
Beads online from Panitom. SoloOrTroll uses that King Arthur ultimate to go up-down with the Ratatasker. Layers has made their presence known over in the solo lane, so Jarcorrr and Panitom going to back off for the moment here as the totem is being targeted down by the combination of Layers and SOT. So unfortunately there for the Levi's, Panitom trying to make a play over on this right-hand side. Layers with a great heads-up rotation there to stop any aggression. And you were talking about getting knocked down to the bottom side of that bracket come tomorrow for Elimination Day. If we recall back, the Levi's had a bit of a tougher time with their SCC squad than some of the other SPL teams.
Yeah, so maybe that's why we're seeing them go back to their old style of, hey, we might not be the best early game aggressive squad, but we used to be the best in the world at just team fighting come 30 minutes. Seems to me they're trying to get back to that standard here. $200,000 Summer Masters event. Lots of money on the line, so no mistake to them. They are just going to go ahead and play it slow and steady. I like how both of these compositions come into the late game. Initiation linear from both drafts, ease of play pretty high on both of these drafts as well. The only concern I would have is the difference in healing. The Tartarus Titans with CycloneSpin have to pick up those hearts, takes a little while longer, whereas Ronngyu, auto attacks, bouncing heal, all really does help them out in a war of attrition. And then you've got standard initiation from like Jarcorrr on this Cabrakan, who essentially could just trade roles with Ronngyu in the late game. Slightly more damage than we would see from a Cabrakan support, but maybe, no, actually not slightly. That's a whole lot more damage if you finish up that mask. Could be that Jarcorrr just wants to do his best Sheento impression.
Well,
it's going to be tough, right? Like, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Because where's your tank at?
Yeah.
Who's going to be your primary initiator if Jarcorrr is actually just another squish?
Sure, especially if Ronngyu is playing the peel game, right? checking out that ADC and the mid, making sure they're safe. Panitom's going to be deep in the back line in that cosmic tree there, the tree of life. Sheento has some great peel for themselves in that Discordia, right? You got the Strife, you got the Golden Apple to create space as well. But certainly points to look forward to as we approach 10 minutes. Pyromancer spawning sooner rather than later. Do you think that neutral objective is going to kick things off here in this slow-paced Levi's Tartarus Titans game, especially considering the burn coming out of Aror?
Maybe. The Tartarus Titans have already established a pretty significant gold lead considering nothing has happened in 10 entire minutes. 1,000 already. Pushing that further with a Pyromancer might be enough of an infusion of gold to give them the confidence to look towards that Gold Fury. And as you said, Aror, very, very good on this Ganesh at just stripping away these objectives. Wouldn't mind seeing the Tartarus Titans at least heat check the Leviathans, check whether or not they're willing to step up. Significant grouping from both teams here. Seems like the Leviathans might be concerned about the Tartarus Titans moving in towards this greater Scorpion. Whole lot of posturing, not a whole lot of happening.
Aror caught in by a Riptide here. Levi's choose not to continue their engagement on the support for the Tartarus Titans, who to this point has stacked up at Thebes, is going into a breastplate as well. So not the tankiest elephant in the room, but certainly not squishy as well. Aror and SoloOrTroll have positioned themselves as aggressors on this Pyromancer pit, just checking out if the Levi's are going to make anything happen here. Blue buff goes down to the side of the Levi's. That is secured with no problem. Scorpion's still up here for the Order Squad. That could be a point of contention as we've seen these SPL teams value those greater Scorpion invades highly.
You know, Dimes, I'll play a game with you that I normally play with Dave.
Let's hear it.
Who do you think's going to be the first one to die?
Ooh, that's a good one. So one of these junglers, I think. I think Panitom's probably going to dive into the back line, maybe get caught by a silence from Ganesh, maybe take some shots from Aror, layers lock him down in that grand joust. Does have the beads online, though, so that affords some extra safety to this Ratatasker. The Discordia could be dove as well by the Lancelot. I could see that certainly happening. You know, the Flicker could be down on the Merlin. There's a lot of initiation on both sides of the map. Just
Gotta play the game.
Yeah.
Pick your one.
You go first. Let me think.
All right, yeah, I get pick a field.
Yeah.
Let's see. I would have to say Zapman because it's Zapman.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not gonna give it the same level of valuation that you just did.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just gonna go ahead
You're going
blanket
with your
statement. Zapman.
Yeah. Well, some ego has to play into this, right? Like, eventually, at least for you, right? Like, I'm all brains over here. I thought you're supposed to be the chair, too.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so you're supposed to use your brain. I'm the
I
one-
break down what's happened and what I think's gonna happen.
When I first arrived here at the studio, Mifflin, you described Chair 1 to me as big dumb brain, shut up.
I
and
never
just,
once said any of that. I thought it real loud,
you
but
just
I didn't
said,
say it.
You talk loud and you say big dumb things, and then you're over here,
That's what I sound like?
reclined back in your, in your Bond villain chair, right? Stroking
The
your
Maxnomic? Yeah, it's awesome.
pet hairless cat
I don't have a hairless cat. I have
in your,
a
in your
Yorkshire
shades.
Terrier.
Where'd you get the shades?
Amazon.
Yeah?
Shouts Prime.
Prime, baby!
2-day delivery.
Oh my, we implement it. We're not even on the desk and we're still doing reads. Look at
Yeah.
us.
Just professionals.
Consummate professionals here in the field of SMITE Pro League casting. As you said, a bit of a gold lead here for the Tartarus Titans. Not significant,
Well,
not
hold
even
on.
1,000. What's up?
You haven't chose your guy. You thought you could dodge it?
Yeah, I was trying to.
Pick a guy.
Panitom.
All right, whoa.
Panitom.
Panitom.
Yeah.
Sticking with it. The
Yeah, I-
initial reaction.
Yeah, because, okay. You know what? I'm just, gut. I'm not going to try to explain myself
So
to
much
you.
easier
I don't
to do
have
that,
to explain
right?
myself to
So
you.
much easier.
Mifflin, you're right. It is so much easier when you just go with your gut. Why be perplexed when you can just be plexed?
I don't think that that's how that word works, personally.
Yeah.
Not an etymology expert, so I'll let you have it this time.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit more posturing around this Pyromancer. These guys are getting me nervous, all right? I'm ready for something to happen because when the game goes this late, and it's a massive topic of conversation I have about, SMITE as a whole.
Yeah.
When you put all your chips in the late game basket, you're allowed less and less mistakes.
Sure.
Let's say the first fight happens 25 minutes in. You lose that fight, you lose the game. Let's say the first fight happens 5 minutes in. You lose that fight, you lose the lead. There's a massive difference.
Here we go. Panitom trying to get something going in the mid lane for you here, Mifflin. Paul is the target, but Aror is able to stop the aggression on their mid laner here. Here we go. Ronngyu really getting things going in this right-hand side. Those pillars have been dropped. SoloOrTroll deletes Ronngyu from the map. Panitom trades out Paul in return. Grand Joust comes through from layers. Jarcorrr with just a sliver of HP, but Zapman has made the rotation.
Good strife, locks out Aror, stops that follow-up, but can Zapman make his way out?
Burning the beads is the Medusa, but caught right in those fields of love. Aegis online for the level 14 Medusa. CycloneSpin finishes off Zapman. ADC on ADC crime there. That's a 3-for-1 for the Tartarus Titans.
3-for-1, red buff invade, CycloneSpin still healthy, and still 3 dead for the Levi's. Gold Fury gotta be the target for the Tartarus Titans. This is exactly what I'm talking about. When you wait this long for a fight to happen, there is more and more weight built upon that fight. Ronngyu steps a little too far out of line. Aror over the wall with the Dharmic Pillars as the lockdown. SOT rotates through. And then from there, the Levi's say, well, we can't help Ronngyu. He's on his own. We got to do something else on the map. Only one in range to do it is Jarcorrr. Goes into the tower to lock down Paul. Does find that kill, but costs him his positioning and his life. From there, Tartarus Titans chase out. CycloneSpin rotates in after Zapman just to make sure that that kill does go their way. And then one fight at the 15-minute mark puts the Tartarus Titans up 4,000 gold.
Flip of the switch there, and all of a
3,000
sudden,
gold.
there you go, 3,400
I saw
to
the
be
38,
exact.
you know.
And look at that XP spike. It was headed in the upwards trending direction for the Leviathans. All of a sudden, darts right back down in the Titans' favor. 3-1 here as we approach 14 minutes. Pyromancer still online as well. And with the Tartarus Titans having pressure on this map now, with the Gold Fury down, you're always concerned doing a neutral objective that the enemy squad is going to be able to group up, rotate to the other side of the map, and grab that other objective. But now, with the Gold Fury down, this Pyromancer up for grabs with little to no worries here for the Tartarus Titans, who certainly have the capability.
Yeah, they've got the burn, but have they got the vision, confidence to pull it out? Finally, Layers and Paul combine for the DPS. Ronngyu nearby and Panitom in.
What a great silence there from Aror onto Panitom to make sure the Titans lock down the Pyromancer. They grab that one for themselves, and the Levi's really don't have any more initiation here. We have a blink online for the Cabrakan, so Jarcorrr could have blinked in, tried to find something there, but Ronngyu was out of position. Sheento was leading the charge there as the Discordia. Disjointed thus far are the Leviathans after an early setback.
Yeah, now the Tartarus Titans can rest on their laurels and wait for these objectives to respawn. The Leviathans aren't so strong that they can just pull out the Fire Giant with Fury and Pyromancer off the map. The real only POIs that I can imagine we see, maybe the Tartarus Titans group up, try and leverage some aggression towards this tier 1 mid tower, potentially some greater Scorpion invades on that respawn, but otherwise should be a reset back to neutral from both of these squads. Tartarus Titans can start building up their stacks yet again. Layers nearly done with that Transcendence. And on the other end, the Leviathans have hit some pretty strange power spikes. Bancroft's finished up for Jarcorrr. Also moving into that Typhon's Fang, so a whole lot of lifesteal. Hasn't decided to upgrade that mask, but no defense just yet for the Cabrakan. Might make him a pretty easy target for Layers if he decides to rotate to that side.
The entirety of the Titans on this left side map, locking down Ronngyu on the Emoji, who Riptide's out, forces the Rivers of Rebuke just to split the Tartarus Titans team. Able to escape is the Emoji. Dunking down in the back line is Panitom. Fields of Love drop to split the fight up in half here. Jarcorrr also used those Cabrakan walls and goes down to Paul from over the wall.
Now Layers goes back in, forces the beads out of Zapman. Tartarus Titans have got what they've come for. Jarcorrr has to dedicate his body to these initiations, and it is not tanky. He walks up, it gets immediately turned on, has the damage, drops CycloneSpin down to about 20% HP, but not quite enough to actually finish off that kill. What will the Tartarus Titans do, though? Not much on the map to force out. CycloneSpin hovering nearby. Maybe just shoving that minion wave into the tower. Not really concerned with taking this tier 1. Least valuable tower on the map being the duo tier 1. Might as well just make sure that farm is stripped away from Zapman and build up that experience disparity, which is already pretty massive in favor of CycloneSpin, a little bit further.
So if you're the Levi's, you're behind in gold. At this point in time, you're maybe a little bit behind in XP. There is an XP lead here in the jungle. Panitom 1 level over Layers. I have to imagine that's going to even itself out sooner rather than later. If you're the Leviathans and your game plan, as we talked about, is this mid-game, late-game style team fighting, are you even worried that you're going down 6,000 gold this early on at 20 minutes? Are you even worried you're down 1 to 4 in kills? Or is it just, let's just farm it up, boys?
All right, let me clarify the question. You asked me if I, Mifflin, were on the Leviathans or if I'm RPing as like one of the Leviathans guys.
Put yourself in their shoes. Not you on the team, but if you're like coaching them.
Oh, so it's still I'm still me.
Okay, so you're not in. Okay, so Okay, let me rephrase the question. How about that?
Yeah,
So
please.
let's clarify for you, Mifflin. Are the Leviathans concerned about this deficit because of their late game team fight strategy?
Generally, we used to call the Leviathans 3K down and the Leviathans lead because they were so good playing into it. Now that we're starting to get up to 5, nearly 6K, the concern starts to build up a little bit. But the composition that the Leviathans have put together can operate very, very well in that late game still, so long as they can find the burst potential. The CC lockdown was there. Jarcorrr finds a multi-man wall in the last engagement, just doesn't have enough DPS behind him because of that rotation from SOT. So I think the Leviathans can at least look at that fight and say, hey, we might be down, but we're certainly not out. We can still execute. And then you hear that sound effect playing, you're starting to think, oh, man, wish we were there for that Gold Fury. Yeah, I'm concerned, and I think the Leviathans will be concerned too. This gold lead is just continuing to build. And the Tartarus Titans really haven't seen too much fight back just yet.
And the Levi's, I mean, what do you do if you're them, right? You can't go for these tier 1 towers because your lanes are pushed out. There's pressure around the entire map in favor of the Tartarus Titans. All of a sudden, they're ducking into your jungle. They're grabbing your red buff, taking out a Greater Scorpion. You know, they're grabbing the Harpies along the way. And the Tartarus Titans are slowly, despite only having 4 kills to their name, are going to choke out a lead, right? They're going to start invading these camps. They're going to start grabbing this Pyromancer on respawn. I mean, we just saw the Olympus Bolts grab a lead in the same exact way, right? They weren't looking for kills. They weren't scrapping at every opportunity. They just grabbed objective, objective, objective. All of a sudden, you're 10K gold ahead. You're fully stacked up. You run it down mid, and you win the game.
Yeah, I wonder. The Tartarus Titans probably in a position now where Fire Giant's a topic of conversation. The Leviathans have to concern themselves with that side of the map. Pyromancer respawning. 2, the Leviathans have shown, because I know for a fact they know the Gold Fury's pulled out. They've got timer on it, and they know the Tartarus Titans are there. They decide that's an active decision from the Leviathans to not show up and defend. They have to show up and defend this one. They could say, well, maybe they're just doing the Pyromancer, but there's always that off chance that it is actually the Fire Giant pulled out, which is why we see Ronngyu start to make his rotation over, human ward that he is. Even Zapman also moving to this side of the map, but with CycloneSpin on the left, just shows himself on that wave. The Tartarus Titans, all they have to do is show a little bit of presence, generate that threat, keep the Leviathans here. CycloneSpin's allowed to free farm, pick up a couple of items, then rotate his way through to the Fire Giant. I'm thinking the Tartarus Titans would love to force a team fight.
Big time. CycloneSpin has backed, is now approaching this Pyromancer. Same thing goes for the Levi's, 5-man stacking. Head into the mid lane here just to push up the waves, make sure that Paul and Aror are forced to rotate to ensure their tier 1 tower isn't under any threat here. And now everybody is looking to posture around this right-hand side. We see some great vision here out of Levi's, but not too deep into the Tartarus Titans' own jungle. This Pyromancer is going down, and that thing is just put in the ground. In 4 seconds, the Levi's are in no position to try to defend it. And when you can grab an objective so easily, when you have so much burn on your side, you got to think the Fire Giant is not off the table here for the Tartarus Titans. Blinking in as SoloOrTroll, dropping the Dharmic Pillows for follow-up is Aror. A great Rivers Rebuke out of the Emojis, separates the team fight clean in half. Layers forced a Grand Joust out of that team fight. Jarcorrr at half HP.
Grand Joust barely keeps him alive. Panitom wants to finish off that kill just by hovering, forces out the shell. SOT takes some damage. Paul sends it back. Tartarus Titans chasing out, but SOT completely alone. Good stun. No follow-up, whole lot of posturing, whole lot of poking and prodding. But at the end of the day, nobody finds too much of value here. Relic Roundup, though, just about every beat's still available on the map.
Here comes Jarcorrr, but Cupid held that ultimate for the entire fight. Drops it on the head of the Cabrakan. Panitom, meanwhile, dives onto the Merlin, finds one, layers, returns the kill onto the jungler Ronngyu. Going down to SoloOrTroll on this King Arthur, who is leading the charge for the Tartarus Titans. Massive damage out of layers. CycloneSpin finds one of their own, and a deicide for the Tartarus Titans.
Tartarus Titans can now pull out this Fire Giant. Can't ignore SOT in these team fights. What was that, initially a 3-man stun and then another 2-man stun?
Huge.
To end out that engagement, this King Arthur has just created infinite space. And we can see the Leviathans stretching themselves just to find something in these team fights. Have to dive deep into that back line. Sure, you shut down Paul, but you put yourself so far out of position that you can't disengage. It's an all-in initiation from there. And you don't want to be put in that position with this kind of disparity. Now approaching 11,000 favoring the Tartarus Titans. 24 minutes in, that is an absolutely wild pace to the gold disparity. Now with Fire Giant on just 4 members, you can start to work your way across the map, do exactly what you've been doing for the entirety of this game, but this time with a little bit extra safety. Plenty of gold in pocket as is, but I think the Tartarus Titans would like to fill their coffers a little bit more so before they head back to base. Tier 1 tower in mid, easy pickup. Primal Fury, not too far from respawning, but maybe far enough that CycloneSpin will want to reset himself. So let's talk about the Leviathans' base defense potential, because that's the situation they've been put into. It's not awful. It should be a lot easier for Jarcorrr in particular to start applying his damage in these team fights. Game simplifies when it's all 5-on-5 on your own base. So a blink engage from Jarcorrr, those walls should be able to find some value. Strife, much easier to apply in these fights. Layers and SOT, if they want to have that same level of efficacy that they've had in the last couple of engagements, will have to work their way deep into the backline of the Leviathans. When you're in your own baseline, your backline's generally close to your fountain. So a bit harder in that regard as well. But you can't give up too much space. CycloneSpin has the Fire Giant, and he's got a whole lot of DPS from Paul beside him. So maybe we see the Leviathans go for another Spearhead-style initiation. Just find your pick, disengage. I want to see it one and done. That's the Leviathans' way back in. Find your one kill, reset. Don't get baited out of your own base. Fight where you have the advantage. Tartarus Titans, on the other hand, strip some structures, reset, spend some gold, do it all over again, because you've got so much time left on this Fire Giant power play. Still 2 entire minutes.
That Primal Fury going down in about 10 nanoseconds to the might of the Tartarus Titans. Tier 2 tower on the left-hand side drops as well. Tier 2 in the middle lane. Goodbye, Sweet Prince, as the Tartarus Titans have split this push. They've put layers in the middle lane. The 4 remaining members of the Tartarus Titans group around this left side bird here. Sheento, Ronngyu, and Zapman combining for this left side Phoenix defense. Jarcorrr and Panitom in the middle lane for the Leviathans, pushing away Layers, who's trying to draw their attention. A 4v3 Tartarus Titans with the man advantage in this left-hand side, moving forward with the minion wave. Here comes the Tartarus Titans. Panitom has made their way to this left-hand side to join the remainder of the team. Sheento here looking for a big Strife. No unruly magic follow-up, only connects on a CycloneSpin, who utilizes those Cupid hearts to heal up the team.
Phoenix taking a good deal of damage already, halfway worked through by the Tartarus Titans. It's still in another entire minute on this Fire Giant power play. The Leviathans slowly bleeding out here, need to do something.
Dharmic Pillars dropped to zone out Zapman. Jarcorrr thrust in the air by the King Arthur. River's Rebuke utilized by the Yemoja to cut off 3 members of the Tartarus Titans from slamming home those autos. And to the Phoenix, Aror caught by the Petrifying Gaze. But that's not all the value that you want from the Medusa ultimate. Still healthy are the Tartarus Titans. Jarcorrr locking down SoloOrTroll. Shoving into the middle lane is the King Arthur. Layers has joined the push on the middle side. But the attention of the Leviathans is split. This left lane bird goes down for absolutely free, and the Tartarus Titans are not done with this push.
Still 30 seconds left on the Fire Giant power play. 5 strong and half HP on the mid Phoenix. Maybe the Tartarus Titans with these thin margins can fight their way forward. Still plenty of ults and relics from the Leviathans to play with, though. Might be enough to dissuade the Chaos team from stepping up.
Here we go, SoloOrTroll locked in by the Cabrakan walls. 1 tick of damage is gonna do it. Field of Love utilized as well. Panitom finds the first kill onto the Tartarus Titans, but Layers immediately takes out the ADC for the Levi's, who's going to be in the grayscale for the next 50 seconds. CycloneSpin at half HP, forced to use the Aegis. In comes Jarcorrr. Layers finds a double on the Panitom. Might find a triple for themselves. It's gonna be 3 for Layers. It's gonna be a quadra kill for Layers as Jarcorrr drops as well. Sheento on their last legs. Aror charges forwards. 1 more hit. Can we see the Penta at SMITE Summer Masters? Layers giving it up in lieu of this middle lane Phoenix.
That is a man that has more discipline than I've got in my entire body. Just in his pinky, by the way. I'm chasing that Penta to the ends of the earth instead. The Tartarus Titans want the $100,000. Titan burning quick.
Reigning in the bloodlust is Layers. Low HP are all of these Tartarus Titans. Titan at a quarter HP, dropping under. Sheento does find Layers. Sheento finds a double, but the Tartarus Titans find the win.
Clean play from the Tartarus Titans. I'd argue clean play from both teams, but when both are playing so clean, it puts so much more oomph on every single one of these minuscule engagements, and time in and time out in game 1 of this set, the Tartarus Titans win out. Objective after objective, greater scorpions, buff invades, all go their way. I might want to see a little bit more early action from the Leviathans. You can't let the Tartarus Titans have that kind of pace.
Mifflin, you like the Lancelot in the solo after that performance by Layers. What are your thoughts of Lancelot in the jungle role now?
Look, he can work in the jungle, okay? I never said he couldn't work in the jungle. He's more consistent in the solo lane.
Sure.
He can work in the jungle, yeah. And you know what? Layers made it look good.
Layers made it look better than good, nearly finding the first pentakill of the SMITE Summer Masters event. Incredible across the board. The Levi's are going to have to find a great game number 2 to take it to the full 3-game set. Game number 2 coming at you in just a second. Stick around.
1-0 here for the Titans. And off that one phrase, chat, you're now tasked with trying to figure out what Trelly and I were talking about right before
And we'll never tell you.
we came off this. We won't tell you, actually, unless you get it right. Tag me with what you think it is. And, well, hey, we'll figure it out. Either way, Titans, though, Trelly, Gore, and they're up 1-0. They did a lot of good in that game.
I would say so.
I would argue some of it is in the kills. They did good kills. They also did good farm.
They did good farm, good objectives.
I'm also
good
an
kills.
analyst for the game, by the way. So they, it was very early on. What, a 4-1 lead in terms of kills, and I looked up and I'm like, oh man, like just only 5 kills on the board and they're 5,000 gold up. Like, what are they doing? Things like that. Seeing the control of the farm and the discipline. Because Layers, smart Layers, doesn't chase down the pentakill. I can't think of a single human soul other than Layers in that circumstance that doesn't chase down the pentakill.
Yeah, I will say, I was definitely thinking the same thing. I was like, how is Layers not chasing that? And then you looked how close the end call was, even with Layers not chasing down that pentakill.
Yeah. Oh, they don't win
and
there if he goes.
they almost did not end just because of how much damage Sheento had. Of course, if Sheento's dead.
Sheento almost pentakilled them.
Yeah, if Sheento didn't die, I mean, if Sheento died from the penta, then yeah, they probably could have ended. But SOT seemed to be, I believe at one point Mifflin was just highlighting the fact that, like, you can't just ignore SOT in the backline, and he was doing a ton of damage on that King Arthur. And Layers on the Lancelot. On the Fire Giant fight, when he should have died, it looked like the apple was just about to clear him out, but he got the shield from the horse and then comes back in. They win the team fight, get FG, and that just leads to pretty much the end call. I mean, just clinical, so clutch on this Lancelot to make sure to just do so much damage as well. And almost a full Arthurian comp, as we were talking about a little bit ago. Just missed the Morgan Le Fay.
You know what? I don't know where you slot her in, but yeah, I would have appreciated it if they wanted to try and go for something like that lore-wise. Maybe it could have been fun. The triple kill, quadra kill, just shy of being able to pick it up. Shoutouts also for anyone who's wondering, in game, the Season 9 caster announcer pack. For those of you who are doing the SMITE Night quest modes right now. Or pester one of us on Twitter enough, because I'm pretty sure we all have codes somewhere, and we'll do a giveaway at some point. 6-1 and 6 there for Layers as they lock it down. I was literally, the only reason that correlation came through is because my pentakill made it through, because we all recorded every line. Right. And then bits and pieces of it. And my pentakill was in there, and I was like, I'm never gonna hear this because I play support, so that's fun. But you know, I can dream.
If you want to hear Gore cast your pentakill, then
and just the penta. It might be Dave for the quadra. It might be Dave for the penta too.
No,
I can't remember.
I've heard Dave definitely has a penta line as well. So one of them, and that's even better. You get both. You'll never know which one comes until you get the penta yourself.
Myth will make fun of you if you are first blooded.
Yep.
He'll be like, wow, out of everyone
That's
in the lobby, you died first. A lot of fun. And you should be able to unlock that. I've stopped keeping track of the weeks. Yeah, just go look at it. It's going to be somewhere in the store. Either way, Leviathans looking to bounce back. And Trelly, what a far way we've come. Finals, Worlds for Season 8, 3-0 in favor of the Leviathans, and not even close. Like, most of those games were just the Leviathans winning.
Right.
Now, Titans up 1-0. And potential to knock the Leviathans down to the losers bracket, where they'd have to go through a rematch. And they're just one game away from it. We'll see how they adjust here in picks and bans. Leviathans will be remaining your first pick team, which hasn't happened a whole ton this week. It's always been a little bit of flip-flop. But it's going to be Khepri, Eset. Last time they banned out the Chernabog. We'll see if they go for that one as well. Whereas the Titans, you'll never guess this, Osiris, Nemesis. And last time, they went for the Erlong Shin. And so far, 5 out of 6 bans exactly the same. The Titans have the opportunity to continue that, and it's going to be 6 out of 6. Will it be a Cabrakan first pick, Trelly? Yes or no?
I think Daji should be the call here, but the Leviathans, they were confident in the Cabrakan last time, and it looks like that is what they're running back to. Given the way the matchup went, you know, the Cabrakan definitely wasn't terrible. It's just, I can't imagine so much presence was put on to that Cabrakan. And I guess up into the Lancelot, the Daji doesn't have the best time, and maybe that's the mindset there. No need to first pick it. And of course, the Titans are going to instantly lock back that Lancelot. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw the King Arthur here as well.
Last time it was Lancelot Cupid. And so far, we're
thing.
having the exact run back. Now, again, This is something I don't get to say often. I'm going to say it now because it's about to break.
Okay.
The same 10 gods loading into a lobby of competitive Smite in the SBL has happened, if I remember correctly, 3 total times. Usually, one team will make a change. And so we'll see here if the Leviathans will do that. Also, just as we're giving a throwback, since this is a World's Finals rematch, I'm going to call this out. Piece of confetti right behind you.
I lead
just
us
fell
to
from
glory, to
from
victory.
These exact finals where it had happened. So keeping things fun for us. So things are changing though, Trelly. Medusa and King Arthur. So Leviathans keep their hunter, but they change up the solo lane.
Yep, and the Merlin is going to be locked in. So it looks like the Tartarus Titans were going for that full salty run back. Not salty, they won. Just the happy run back, if you will. And the Leviathans, they had to put a stop to it. They're going to grab that King Arthur and not give the chance to SOT to go back to that one.
I mean, it's not the exact same. It doesn't fall under the qualifier of the same two teams playing the exact same
Yeah, I guess
team
if they
dodge.
just switch
But if they
solo
just,
laners.
oh no, they can't because Cabrakan's already over there. So they'd have to like grab a Discordia for their solo lane or something.
Unlucky.
Unlucky.
It would have been a fun time, but I don't think.
Would have been a moment of history.
It would have been. You'd have been able to change that 3 to a 4.
And you know what? I would have. And I would have been pretty pumped about it, if I'm honest with you.
And you would have at least got to tweet about it, too.
And hopefully it would have gotten at least 3 likes.
I would have been one of them as we
That's-
go through
yay!
and see these bands. Leviathans are going to take away Ganesh and Yamoja, so the Ganesh is not coming through. So once again, just if we didn't already know that we weren't going to see the full run back, it's been cemented. The Ymir is going to be locked in, and once again the Titans banning a couple more junglers, the Pele and the Daji. So now, the option comes through. Is Panitom going to show us what he's picking? The Serqet is going to be the choice. That is a ton of single target CC. And given the composition the Leviathans have went for here, will be a Huang in the back as well. So a fair bit of damage throughout, but I'm just looking at single target 3 here. This is a pick comp through and through, right? They're trying to find a pick, then use their man advantage in the team fight. Whereas it looks like the Titans are hovering the possible Awilix, which would in turn mean that SOT takes that Lancelot solo.
That'll be an interesting shift for them. Layers just had a great game on it. Granted, and you know what? Due diligence, Trelly. Sot's played some really weird stuff over in the solo lane.
No doubt.
And then I don't think Awilix is would have a great matchup into someone like a King Arthur. But you never know. That
You're
guy's
saying for
kinda
SOT
crazy.
to play the
Yeah,
Awilix.
he's kind of crazy. So it's always on the list. Cabrakan support, though, we can talk about that in the realm of existence with the Medusa, Serqet in the jungle, the Huang mid, Leviathan's comp as a whole. You said was going for picks.
battle
When you look at duo lanes, the fact that Awilix just switched to a Bellona, by the way, makes me think that Sot literally was discussing it. But when I look at that as a duo lane up against Ymir Cupid, it feels like you should be able to get pretty aggressive if you're the Leviathans.
I mean, it's questionable because it's all about how Aror plays this Ymir. I think Ymir is probably the premier pressure god in duo lane, right? If you're walking up to a freeze, the carpet also does so much damage. It's hard to push into that and follow that up with stun into heart bomb. That's not going to feel too good. But you're right to hide the fact that Medusa and Cabrakan also bring a ton of pressure. So that they both have a kill lane as far as I'm concerned. It really just depends on if you're able to juke out these freezes, if you're able to hit consistent CC, and relic choice I think comes into play a little bit as well. If you you have a blink, are you trying to get aggressive in that way? Are you just letting the blink come to you and saying I'm gonna pop shell or meditation we've seen a couple times now, and then you get baited. So I think both of these lanes could find pressure, really just depending on where that presence is on the map.
Now we've been seeing King Arthur be pretty much just one of the most prominent fixtures on the map when he's locked into the game, right? Like he becomes a whole other essence to deal with. And he's been winning a lot of those games as well. And maybe, I'd have to double check. It's probably not at the 100% rate, but he's been doing incredibly well when he has been picked up. Do you think that the comp plus this now King Arthur on the side of the Titans is enough to maybe level this out and push us to 3?
Yeah, the Leviathans have a draft that I think they would like. It just really depends on how well this Serqet performs because we haven't seen too much Serqet as of recent. I think there's a reason for that. She does do incredible amounts of damage and CC, but has to commit her body to do that damage, which means, putting herself out of position, standing still for a long time doesn't bode well when there's a Ymir, a Cupid, a Merlin in case. So that's not going to be very easy, but Panitom's been around for a while. I think he knows how to pilot a character like this. So Leviathans definitely have put themselves in a situation where they've got the tools to succeed.
Yeah.
Just taking down the Titans is never easy.
That might be an understatement, right? I mean, this team, it feels like, has absolutely pulled themselves up. You had mentioned the Ymir. I think talking about this Lancelot almost gets a quadra kill alongside the Bellona. Focus on the right side of the map has been like important over the last few days, last few weeks. Is Lancelot Bellona gonna have a lot of pressure compared to like Serqet King Arthur?
Yeah, and again, I think they both have pretty decent pressure. I'm not gonna give the edge to
It's
one
just
or
gonna be
the
a
other.
clash,
Yeah, I
right?
think it's a battle, and that's what we want to see, right? Not one team just like rolling over and letting the camps go. Just an all-out brawl from both of these sides.
Well, that means it's going to be something fun to watch. That means keep your eyes on the solo lane as well as we get our eyes not only on in-game, but on the casters themselves as we throw it over to Dimes and Myth at least one more time for Game 2.
The Tartarus Titans with a 1-0 advantage over the Jithins just threw me off. Jithins ruined the intro over
Wait, you gotta at least
the
do the bit.
Atlantis Leviathans. What bit?
Blame Jithins? It's like, I don't know, they've
What's
been
that?
spamming it for like 6 years.
What's that?
Honestly, I don't know particularly. I just know I read it a lot.
Anyways, here, Tartarus Titans leading 1-0. I was going to have this big thing about how thus far in 3 3/4 days of SMITE Summer Masters, we've only had one best of 3. That was yesterday, the final set of the day. It's day 4, the final set of the day.
Uh-oh.
With these 2 drafts,
Uh-oh.
think we're going to 3, or do you think the Titans are able to shut the door?
Ask me again in 10 minutes. Are either of these teams capable of winning? Absolutely. But if we're going to go off like history, Game 1, the Titans won. So, like, why wouldn't they win Game 2?
I definitely thought you were going to say, like, ask me again in 35 minutes and I'll tell you if we're going to a game number 3.
No, I'll know in 10 minutes.
Okay.
I've been around the block,
Okay.
man, all right?
You're right.
I can identify a SMITE game.
You're right. So Jarcorrr switching it up a little bit, picking up this ever-powerful King Arthur. Ronngyu taking the Cabrakan into the support role instead of the solo lane. This time around, do you think Jarcorrr has the pressure over this Bellona, over SoloOrTroll? We saw SOT making massive rotations as Ronngyu is chunked down by the Cupid, which is typical of a Cupid. We've seen it be played almost exclusively in that ADC role 4 days in a row now. As I was saying, SOT was such an impact last game. Does Jarcorrr have the same this time?
Yeah, I think so. I really like the King Arthur into Bellona matchup. Bludgeon, very difficult to apply that damage. Not very often Jarcorrr is going to be really auto-attacking SOT either. So this is a lane where if there's a fight happening, probably just favors the King Arthur. Otherwise, it's about what these two bring to the late game team fight. SOT's got a disarm, so up against the Cabrakan and a Medusa, or any hunter for that matter, should be able to find some value. Panitom going to be telegraphed when he's trying to utilize that passive to burn that essentially poison bomb that he puts on people. Disarm that, all of a sudden a whole lot of that burst is lost as well. Whereas we know what King Arthur brings to a late game team fight. It's a whole lot of damage, a whole lot of space control. So as far as execution between these two, I think SOT going to have a much harder time both in the lane and in the team fight. But that's just like the really long-winded way to say that King Arthur's like way higher on the tier list.
Sure, SoloOrTroll so far having pressure on this right side. Let's flip on over to this left side here with Zapman and Ronngyu. This Medusa specifically picked up in the first game. Petrifying Gaze used okay in team fights, I would say, catching a couple members of the Tartarus Titans. Picked up again here for Zapman, even higher priority this time around. Not valued by other SPL or SCC teams. Why do you think Zapman is going once again to this Medusa pick?
I think that Medusa's all right into Cupid. Petrify and trade for that Fields of Love in the 1v1. Not so bad. Blue buff invade posture from the Tartarus Titans. SOT won't let Panitom in.
SOT and Layers not wasting any time in this game. 2 minutes and 30 seconds with this level 3 gank. Layers dropping so low, so an attempted engage turns right back around on the Tartarus Titans. A double bludgeon there from SoloOrTroll puts the damage in the Tartarus Titans' favor, and this blue buff is going down.
Yeah, Layers nearly loses his life there, but again, SOT just positions himself very, very well. Jarcorrr does not have the gap close to finish off that kill. So, blue buff invade successful for the Tartarus Titans. Generally, when we see invades, the lead doesn't start to establish itself until the team that had invaded is able to fall back and clear out their own camps. In SMITE, when you clear your enemy's camps, it's worth a little bit less. So, that lead should reveal itself in the next couple of moments. With that said, though, good look at the difference between these two junglers' presence. Panitom already dealing a whole lot of damage on this Serqet, good displacement as well. Layer's going to need 1 or 2 items before he's able to do similar levels.
A slight level lead here for Panitom, which means level 5 is a little bit closer for the Leviathans jungler. Paul, once again, on this mildly safe Merlin. The Flicker is a great get-out-of-jail-free tool, but again, long cooldown on that escape ability. The Serqet highlighted on the desk, high single target damage, combined with this Huang, who we've seen be effective at levels 1 through 20, right? The entirety of the game providing insane damage. Paul, a little more under threat this game than last one.
He is. I thought for sure the Leviathans were going to get aggressive there. Had they been able to lock down even just Aror, Panitom, so close by. The gank could come their way. CycloneSpin in trouble as well. No dash available. Instead, phenomenal freeze.
What an insane freeze there. Lockdown on both members of the duo lane for the Tartarus Titans. A little flutter away, and Ymir is safe as well. So Panitom's rotation doesn't pay dividends on this left-hand side. And meanwhile, Layers is farming away.
And that's one of the double-edged swords of ganking the duo lane, right? Like, if you find a gank on duo, it generally is one of the highest return ganks you can find. Putting your ADC or your support ahead, both gods that can either dominate the lane if it's the ADC or if it's the support, you're spreading that wealth essentially to the entirety of the map. But if the gank goes south, not a whole lot of farm on that side of the map that the jungler is allowed to take. Plenty of farm on that side of the map in general, but I dare you to find an ADC that's okay with you taking their Naga or splitting a purple buff or anything along those lines. So, in failing the gank, Panitom just has to fully reset himself, which does lose him out on a whole lot of that lead that he'd already established.
Blink online for both junglers here. Off cooldown as well. Level 5 available for both junglers. I think Layers, based on what we just saw out of that first rotation as Aror and CycloneSpin combined on this purple buff, Shards of Ice used very early trying to secure this one. Panitom is here to respond. Ronngyu locked down by that Fields of Love. Panitom throwing the poison on CycloneSpin, who dashes away successfully, but now Aror caught in the member of 3 members of the Leviathans. Big time freeze, but here's Sheento to put the finishing touches on First Blood.
First Blood bounty goes 4 ways there. Those assists split evenly amongst everyone on the left side of the map. So, Tartarus Titans, maybe a bit of an overcommit to stealing out that purple buff, but you're allowed to make minuscule mistakes when you've already established a lead as the Titans had. Even with First Blood, the only kill of the game, going over to the Leviathans, it's still the Tartarus Titans in the driver's seat, both experience and gold. This could help out, though. Aror slowly working his way out of base. If the Leviathans could push this wave in a tower, maybe they can evade the purple buff themselves. Tartarus Titans, mid and jungle, nowhere nearby. Instead, though, a slower pace to this play. Seems like the Levi's not too interested.
Already, though, the Levi's and the Titans junglers both getting more active on the map than we saw in the last game. It took, 2 times what it took for First Blood.
We'll call
for
it
this
13
game.
minutes.
We'll call it 13 minutes for First Blood of last game. And even so, at the end of the game, kill count was very low. Levi's find First Blood, so already a bit of a hiccup from the first game. As a rotation and a blink in here from Ronngyu, locks down CycloneSpin in those Cabrakan walls. Poison applied to the Cupid as well. How much more follow-up is there? The big-time passive applies from Serqet. CycloneSpin playing Ring Around the Rosie now with Panitom flutter away, caught in the tremble. Just one more auto. Zapman will find it. Now Roar under pressure.
Ronngyu plays that so well, finds the dash. Aror tries his best to stop the back of Panitom, but nobody nearby from the Tartarus Titans to help out in that fight. Loving what we're seeing from the Leviathans. Of course, Ronngyu positioning in that fight impeccable. Can't do anything better on that Cabrakan. Just really catches out every single one of the options that CycloneSpin would have had. SOT steals away that blue buff on his own. Has to use the Eco's rally action all the way across the map.
Layers on this left-hand side with a late rotation, but maybe a worthwhile rotation. Grand Joust comes out, finds the first kill on a Zapman. Ronngyu out of mana, might fall to Layers, might fall to Paul, will certainly fall to one member of the Titans, and it will be Layers for the double.
Man, Layers finally makes his rotation over, and this is why the Leviathans were concerned earlier about going for the invade post-fight, because they thought maybe this Lancelot would rear its head, would show up, and he does exactly that. Double kill to the jungler of the Tartarus Titans, and a massive lead. Panitom has gotten involved a whole lot more consistently. We've seen way more attempted ganks from the Serqet, and in spending all that time attempting the ganks, you lose out on farm. Now 2 levels for Layers over the jungle counterpart.
Impactful. 2 levels, that's a big time deal in the jungle, right? Because you're affecting every single lane on this map as Layers hovering around the middle lane here. Doesn't need to farm up, has that level lead as we mentioned, grabbing these neutral harpies in the middle. Ronngyu and Aror have both made the rotations out of the duo lane, allowing their ADCs to solo farm here. And now not too much pressure on the map. Panitom does have that blink available. Does need to find the farm though, so maybe a little bit more passive here from the Levi's jungler.
Could be. It's a curious pacing, right? Like, Panitom is not the win condition into this draft. You can really spend your time facilitating if you think it's going to work out, and so far, one of those ganks working on a CycloneSpin should find its value. Still no lead for Zapman, despite the 2-1 start, though. Panitom on the Serqet should be able to clear the jungle pretty quickly. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him try and maintain the same level of activity. It's a very aggressive composition in that duo lane around this Cabrakan, between this jungle and support combo from the Leviathans, that you kind of want to leverage it throughout the early. It's one of the stronger points of this draft, but with the lead as it is, you might be right. The Tartarus Titans have built themselves such a nice buffer, going to make it very difficult for the Leviathans to feel confident in their ability to force these engagements.
Ronngyu might be in a little bit of trouble here. Layers putting out the damage, and quite a bit of damage it is onto the Cabrakan. CycloneSpin fluttering in, a blink away from Ronngyu to get out of danger there. So Tartarus Titans expending almost nothing there, grabs the big-time active out of Ronngyu. Great rotation.
Now, what can the Tartarus Titans do with that space they've created? Maybe the Pyromancer, about 20 seconds out from that respawning. SOT, slight lead in the solo, could be one way to throw that weight around.
No follow-up here so far from the Tartarus Titans off a freeze onto the Serqet. But as you mentioned, this right side has objectives to take. So Greater Scorpion for the Tartarus Titans, a good invade there as the Levi's are stripped away from some of their neutral farm. Pyromancer spawning on the map in just a couple of seconds here. Those shards of ice from the Ymir. Great secure, great damage. In fact, one of the highest scaling ultimates from a support in the game can be used to great effect on objectives.
Can be, and in this draft, might be one of the heaviest just secure tools in the game. Dueling Dragons, once the Dragon's like Kith in the middle, that might be it, but Shards of Ice could give it a run for its money. I'm thinking the Tartarus Titans can play confidently around that. Yeah, that's a whole lot of damage, but I don't know. One damage item for Aror could just do it. You like the Kith? Yeah, that's good.
Mifflin made the hand gestures and
yeah, that's from my boy Mike T.
Okay, I have to.
You okayed me. You don't know Mike T?
No. I just I'm crying. That was
okay.
Fantastic. He hunched over and made the hand motions, and I wasn't expecting it. So as we head back into this game, this battleground of the gods here, 3-2, the Levi's have the kill lead. Certainly don't have the gold lead, but the Tartarus Titans not working with much of a buffer, not even 1,000 gold. The Leviathans are still feeling rather comfortable here. Sheento on this Huang, as we said, powerful throughout all stages of the game, finishing up their second item as this Pyromancer getting started up here by the Tartarus Titans. Jarcorrr has moved in. This King Arthur is able to one-feet everybody rather well. The Levi's grab the Pyromancer from underneath the noses of the Tartarus Titans, and you can blame Sheento for that one.
Man, Jarcorrr is so smart for that. Goes into the ultimate onto Aror, realizing that is the confirmation for the Tartarus Titans. Not allowed to charge Shards of Ice when you're getting hit by the 15-piece combo mid-air. So Jarcorrr, I think, doesn't actually kill the Pyro, but I'll give him credit for it.
Sure.
Credit does belong to Sheento, as he is the one able to secure it for his team. Tartarus Titans, though, I think still willing to play around in mid. Trebuchet putting out a whole lot of pressure.
Panitom lockdown from the freeze is able to get out of dodge, though. The Grand Joust finishes off the jungler for the Leviathans. Layers picking that one up for themselves. Gold Fury on the map, and the Tartarus Titans posturing towards this left-hand side. Sheento throwing some of that Phoenix Fire over the wall. Big-time acid spit there out of Zapman to dissuade CycloneSpin and Aror from moving up any further. So the Leviathans not losing the Gold Fury, but certainly losing a Tier 1 tower for their efforts.
Jarcorrr proxying in the solo lane with a 5-stack from the Tartarus Titans. Thought maybe we'd see them move over towards this Gold Fury. Instead, just the Oracles. SOT doesn't want to miss out on too much of that farm, and can you blame the Tartarus Titans for being a little bit trepidatious moving in towards an objective, considering how the last one went for them? At the end of the day, though, just removing that Tier 1 mid tower does give over a good deal of map presence to the Tartarus Titans. Now, the Leviathan's going to be struggling to find a place to retreat to, either on the Pyro or the Gold Fury. Generally, we'll see teams retreat towards mid. You're going to be a little bit harder pressed to find that bastion of safety in a tower, now having to move all the way to that Tier 2. Significant power spikes hit as well. Layers starting to stack up that Transcendence, Sovereignty. finished for SOT. Double dip on defense against his lane opponent as well as the jungle. I'm thinking the Tartarus Titans can still try and force some of these engagements, but the lead not so massive. We might see him wait out for this Pyromancer. Levi's, on the other hand, I think still in a pretty decent position. Obviously not ideal, but you've got lanes that you can lean on. Sheento, already level 13. Mirrodin finished up, going into that book, has both relics available. Maybe you want to leverage some aggression around him. Zapman maintains parity with CycloneSpin in the duo lane. Never a fun thing to fight into a Fields of Love, but if you've got the DPS and Medusa's got it, maybe playing around him could be an avenue back in for the Leviathans.
And shout out to Panitom for recovering that 2-level deficit that the jungler was previously experiencing. Layers ticked over to level 12 not too long ago, so about a level lead, a little less than a level lead here from the Lancelot in the jungle. And there Panitom hits level 12, drawing it back to even with their enemy. Level 13 in the duo lane, slight level lead here for Aror. And I think you're talking about Sheento being one of the Leviathans' win conditions, one of the crutches that they can lean on. That's not new, right? All year long, Sheento has always been a win condition for this team. As rally here, says SoloOrTroll. Panitom immediately utilizing that poison. What a great Cobra's Kiss for Aror and SoloOrTroll. Ronngyu slashing down those walls. Aror throwing up the shards of ice, but only connecting with Jarcorrr. Sheento in the backline, putting out the damage, and the Tartarus Titans have to back away.
I would argue that's probably best case scenario considering how well Panitom played around that engagement. Tartarus Titans make it out with their lives. That said, wasn't cheap for the Leviathans. Blink lost for Jarcorrr. Bead still down for an entire minute on Panitom. Ultimate loss of both Ronngyu and Panitom means that the Tartarus Titans, if they want to, can try again to do that exact same thing. Move into the enemy jungle and try and catch the Leviathans unawares. Feels like to me the Tartarus Titans have just been playing a little bit more proactively. All these fights have started when the Tartarus Titans choose. The Leviathans playing a very reactionary style. Can work out, but when you're waiting for the enemy to make their move first every single time, that means the enemy's going to have more time to make their move. And the Tartarus Titans, with that time, have established a pretty significant lead.
And I think fair to say this Serqet pick for Panitom loves to get aggressive, loves to be the one
Generally
blinking in, finding the Cobra's Kiss, applying that passive. Great follow-up as well, and lockdown from Sheento. Are you surprised as Panitom gets locked down here? Able to escape for the moment. Cobra's Kiss onto Aror to stop the freeze from coming out from the Frost Giant. Surprised, are you, that Panitom has not been more aggressive, especially as we've seen Jarcorrr chunk down SoloOrTroll multiple times in that solo lane?
Yeah, I would say that Panitom has been playing a little bit slower. I think, again, kind of leaning into the same tendencies as the rest of his team here, that reactionary style. But up against things like Merlin or even Ymir, the Serqet's got such a good matchup, especially throughout the early portions. I know we're past that now, that it is a bit surprising that Panitom has slowed down his pace so much. Go back all the way to the very beginning of this game. It was 3 back-to-back attempted ganks in that duo lane, only 1 hitting pay dirt, and since then, Panitom's been playing defensively in his own jungle for the most part, just trying to maintain parity. The Leviathans of the past have always been willing to rely on their synergy in the 5-on-5 engagement. Still certainly a win condition for them, but considering the pacing of Game 1, do you really want to go into that portion of the game, allowing the Tartarus Titans to do things like this over and over? Once more, the Tartarus Titans get an objective for free, pushing their lead even further and making it more difficult for the Leviathans to get that 5-on-5.
That Pyromancer had just respawned too, so the Tartarus Titans game planning around respawn. Let's go grab it. We know that the Leviathans aren't going to fight us. They're playing so passive right now. Levi's just no defense attempt there. On that objective, Gold Fury still online, is warded up for the moment at least from the Leviathans. Aror is rotating to make sure that the Gold Fury hasn't been started up. As we know, teams at this level love to start up the other objective when the Pyromancer is begun. Ronngyu posturing forward now. CycloneSpin just throwing out some autos, testing the waters here as both SoloOrTroll and Jarcorrr have made the rotations over from Solo. Panitom in the back line, starting things off on a SOT, who gets knocked down by the Phoenix Fire up in the air from Jarcorrr, slamming back down. But now Jarcorrr caught 4 members of the Tartarus Titans dueling dragons. Don't find too much value. SoloOrTroll goes down to Sheento.
Now in the back line, Ronngyu has already locked down layers. Panitom lines up against CycloneSpin. Ultimate no good from the Cupid. 5 strong are the Leviathans. Jarcorrr still low HP, doesn't have access to a teleport. So he wants to regen HP, he's going to have to go all the way back to base. The Leviathans, though, would love to make use of this 30 seconds while SOT's in the grayscale.
Grand Joust still available for layers if they choose to make the rotation. Aror also having those shards of ice. Sheento is not the best position for a squishy backliner like the Huang. Great escape though. Panitom deciding to back off. In fact, the entirety of the Leviathans dissuaded from aggressing any further on this Gold Fury. The Tartarus Titans, even lacking SoloOrTroll, just too strong at this state of the game for a foolhardy objective to be attempted.
Yeah, but that gold lead was cut so massively in that small engagement. I mean, that is
Wow,
a
what a
massive
spike.
upswing, both in experience and gold for the Leviathans. So why take the risk, you know? I mean, if you're still pretty that far behind, sure, pull the Gold Fury, maybe you're able to close it up. But because you've already done the work, instead, reset, wait to get your HP back, get a couple more of these relics, ultimates, back off cooldown, then you could start to force some of these fights once more. The Tartarus Titans, though, should be able to regroup. SOT showing presence on the right side of the map. Good eyes, Doug. No teleport. It's blink and beads for the Bellona. So if the Leviathans take notice of that, they'll realize if they can get on this Gold Fury quickly, they'll have an opportunity.
And I think you're reading their minds here, Mifflin. The Leviathans start up this Gold Fury, drop it down to half HP. Aror is here with a freeze. Cobra's kiss out onto the support for the Tartarus Titans, who has poison and taking away at them. Jarcorrr in the backline, but Jarcorrr dropped down by the Tartarus Titans, put in the ground by Paul SoloOrTroll, surging forward onto the Medusa.
SOT has created some space. Carries of the Leviathans zoned out, and SOT will not stop his onslaught.
Bludgeon comes down onto 2, but Paul finds the double kill for themselves on this Merlin. Panitom chased out by layers, and now what has turned into an initial engagement onto the Gold Fury by the Leviathans has turned right back around in the Titans' favor.
Overcommitment onto Aror is what that one was. Paul flickers forward. He wants the 1v1 up against Zap, waiting on those
One more shot.
cooldowns. Needs some help.
Sheento.
lands something, can't do it. Paul puts down the 3-time Tartarus Titans, take the objective and the fight. But with these desynced timers, 50 seconds left on Zapman, maybe the Tartarus Titans can reset and show some presence around this Fire Giant. They've got phenomenal burn. So long as CycloneSpin and Paul are both there, they can make short work of it. CycloneSpin, though, doesn't seem to think so. Instead, sticks around the duo lane, could put some pressure in this tower, generate threat on the structure, force somebody to rotate, whoever that somebody is, Panitom this time. And the Tartarus Titans reestablish their lead greater than it ever has been in Game 2.
So despite the objectives going down for the Tartarus Titans, not an insurmountable lead built up here for the Chaos Squad. Still 5 towers online for the Leviathans, so plenty of buffers between the might of the Titans and their own Titan, the grand objective of this game. Of course, so the Leviathans, they have a Huang, they have the King Arthur. Panitom is going to continue to be effective in these fights, maybe not quite as effective as its layers on this Lancelot. Zapman is going to be chunking once that build comes fully online. Ronngyu, Cabrakan, of course, is effective throughout all stages of the game. So the Leviathans still with win conditions, still with a chance here as the Tartarus Titans start up this Fire Giant objective. And this thing's going down quickly, already to half HP. Jarcorrr is here. Panitom is here as well. Fire Giant dropping to a quarter. Fire Giant dropping to 0. The Tartarus Titans destroy the FG.
Ronngyu on the retreat, puts up a wall, but has one landed on him. Slow connects, but slow immunity still there. Tartarus Titans, I'm not so certain they're upset about it. Still 5 strong with a fire and potentially a pick on a jungle.
Oh, Panitom in the wrong place in the wrong time. Puts out the poison on a Cyclone because that's all you can do. The jungler for the Leviathans drops down, is gonna be down for the next 40 seconds. Tier 1 tower goes, Tier 2 tower is shortly to follow. This has got to be a Phoenix push.
Man, and that Fire Giant pull from the Tartarus Titans just so smart, isn't it? I mean, Zapman on the left side of the map, Sheento just starting to work his way out of base. I don't believe Zapman had shown up for the Tartarus Titans. Doesn't step in a ward, doesn't even go into that minion wave, but the Titans just game sense him out.
Ronngyu moving forward here. Jarcorrr doing the same. The 2 frontliners for the Leviathans.
Good poke.
Placing their presence at the forefront of this engagement. Paul is not at full HP. Same goes for Aror and SoloOrTroll. Ronngyu falls low to the might of the Merlin. Sheento lurking in the back line, but so is SOT, who blinks in aggressively.
Wow.
Eagles rally over the top, connects with 2. The Leviathans are not putting up the defense they were looking for here. That feels the love out of the Cupid. Zones away the Leviathans from any more pressure, and the Tartans pick up the right side bird.
Time to fully disengage, get yourself a Pyromancer and spend up all that gold that you've accumulated over the last couple of moments. Golden Pocket makes not for a lead, so that was a hard to execute siege for the Tartarus Titans, who have got just about an entire item per person on the squad. Leviathans, in this situation, generally you'll see teams chase out, try and catch out the enemy before they're able to back and spend up that gold, but still reeling from that exchange. I don't think the Leviathans were in a position to go for that style of play. Tartarus Titans got plenty of time left to play on this Fire Giant as well. Already stripping one of the birds. I think they'd be happy just to finish off these 2 remaining tier 2s, head back to base, and situate yourself for once more around that Fire Giant. Leviathans, on the other hand, have got some silver linings. I'm going to stretch myself to find them 10,000 gold down, but you've got decent lockdown. If anybody steps too far forward, Ronngyu can lock them in place. Aror actually loses out on 60% of his HP just by tanking the Phoenix in the previous fight. Does so again when Rongyu's nearby. He'll lose the other 40% as well. Zapman, of course, that AoE DPS from the Petrifying Gaze. Sheento's poke damage connects onto Paul and Aror in that small skirmish. Since then, has only gotten slightly stronger, having finished up that Obsidian Shard. And that was, what, 20, 30% of Auror's HP previously? Can do so and then some in this next fight. But I'm not going to lie to you. It certainly ain't easy. And I'd argue maybe 9-to-1 odds now favoring the Titans.
A tough look here for the Atlantis Leviathans as they lose their duo lane tier 2 tower. Left lane Bird about to be under siege from the Tartarus Titans as well. Aror surging forward. Going to be tanking up shots here from the Phoenix that's dropping very quickly to the auto attacks from this Cupid. Panitom is not in the right position here. A great Dow cultivation there. Chunks out CycloneSpin to half HP and pushed out now are the Tartarus Titans.
Tartarus Titans still playing with some regeneration. Aror, HP 5 for Fire Giant, putting in its work, but the Leviathans have still got some resources to play with. Keep your eyes on Sheento. That ult's big and it's been forced.
Here comes SOT, still has that Eagles Rally online as well, so a second initiation available for the Tartarus Titans. And you're right, Sheento using those dueling dragons on a failed Phoenix defense is going to play massive here, as the tier 2 tower in the mid lane will be targeted down, followed by that mid lane Phoenix if the Tartarus Titans choose to do so. Fire Giant about to fall off here sooner rather than later. Not quite yet. Starting up that tier 2 tower, waiting for the minions, allowing themselves to group up. Sheento pushing forward all by their lonesome.
Man, the Leviathans, it takes everything they have just to survive these fights, let alone keep the birds alive. Tartarus Titans, they're walking in, but they don't have fire.
They took some shots there from the Phoenix Fire. Aror taking some shots there from the Dow Cultivation. Jarcorrr in the backline, grabbing CycloneSpin. Grand Joust comes out. SoloOrTroll locks down Jarcorrr, but in the backline, Layers.
What?
1v2 finds the kill. Jarcorrr takes out the jungler. Paul takes out Ronngyu. A 2-for-1 in favor of the Tartarus Titans. The middle lane Bird under siege. That will fall. And all 3 Phoenixes down now for the Leviathans. The 2 backliners, Sheento and Zapman, alongside their solo laner Jarcorrr, the only defense the Leviathans have here. But that's a King Arthur, that's a Huang, and that is Zapman. Can the Levi's do it? Can they defend their Titan? A 2-man Petrifying Gaze. Zapman chunking away at the Tartarus Titans. Sheento finds a kill onto Aror. SoloOrTroll caught between 3 members now of the Levi's. Paul dropping low. Paul dropping to the auto attacks of Zapman, and Aegis keeps the Merlin alive. SoloOrTroll smashing down with a bludgeon, able to escape.
Zapman should have that lacerate up pretty shortly. Could chase if he so chooses. Instead, disengage successful for the Tartarus Titans. And I thought to myself, certainly, you can't end here. You don't have Fire Giant anymore. You're losing Layers as well. But the Tartarus Titans walk in. They don't lose anything for it. A couple of lives, maybe some gold infusion to the Leviathans. But even if, let's play the if game. It's a 5-man wipe from the Tartarus Titans. All of them die, and they die in sync. I think the best case scenario there for the Leviathans, a tier 2 tower and a Primal Fury. It's pretty paltry sums when you're playing into a map state like this, a deficit like this. So it's a calculated risk from the Tartarus Titans. The opportunity cost, just an easy weight evaluation, and they go for it. Doesn't pay out, but at the end of the day, let's look at the map state. Losing the fight, what changed?
Sure.
Just about nothing.
At the very least here, right lane Phoenix back online
That's
for the
big.
Leviathans. So at least one bird, but Fire minions spilling down the middle lane, spilling down the left lane. Their own Titan, the Levi's Titan, at half HP now as the Fire Giant has respawned back on the map. Not 30 minutes, so still.
They have to
baby
defend.
Fire Giant, they have to. I mean, Fire minions spilling down this left-hand side, spilling into the throne room here. Jarcorrr has to back here, has to defend the Titan from any more damage. Zapman has also backed, which means the Tartarus Titans are going to be able to aggress upon this Fire Giant and collect it for absolutely free.
Yeah, no even a steal attempt from the Leviathans. Maybe if Zapman sticks around, you can go for it, or if Jarcorrr sticks around, you could try something to slow this play, but with both of them backing, the Tartarus Titans pick it up with extreme ease. Fire Giant on 5, Relic starting to come off cooldown, Layers 15 seconds away from his Aegis. Only one who probably won't have it for this next exchange. 1 minute left for both of Paul's Beads and Aegis in the next fight, so he'll likely be playing very, very far back in these next couple of exchanges. Left side Phoenix respawning shortly. Right side Phoenix respawned but hobbled. The Leviathans, I don't think they can let the Tartarus Titans into the base. Just a slight bit of DPS from this Merlin. 1, maybe 2 ability rotations, all it's going to take to shut down the Titan itself. The Leviathans in a very, very tough position. Where do they put up the defense? It's probably got to be on this right side bird.
Has to.
Tartarus Titans 5 stacked. They won't make it easy.
Tartarus Titans 5 stack, except SoloOrTroll, which is moving down the exposed middle lane here, drawing the attention of the Leviathans. Aror tanking a few tower shots, allowing their ADC to put some autos into this weakened bird. SoloOrTroll just in the face, being a nuisance to the Leviathans on this left-hand side here, as 3 members of the Tartarus Titans, Aror, Paul, and Cyclone, aim to take down this right side. Phoenix, Sheento, and Ronngyu, and Zapman on the defense. Here comes Ronngyu on a CycloneSpin, aggressively down cultivation, connects with the ADC. Ronngyu just fine. Grand Joust in the backline though. Jarcorrr on this King Arthur falling quite low. A 2-man petrifying gaze out of Zapman. Autos connecting onto Layers. One more shot onto the jungler from the Tartarus Titans, but no, Layers escapes with their life.
He does. Tartarus Titans take out the right side bird as well, in position to take the center. Left side dies to PvE. The Leviathan's base has been broken, but the soul of this team still alive. Layers on regen. Gonna spend a little while in the jungle. Ronngyu, you okay?
No, Fields of Love locks down the support for the Leviathans. What a huge pick for the Tartarus Titans. Dueling Dragons still online here from Sheento. That might play a role in this massive Titan defense. Can the Levi's bring it to 3 games? Can they break the streak? The Titan for the Leviathans dropping low. The Tartarus Titans surging forward, pouring their moves into the Titan. The Leviathans will drop 2-0 to the Titans.
The Leviathans get to stick around, though. Not eliminated just yet. I don't get to thrive on hatred. They can try and line up against the SEC once more, but the Tartarus Titans maintain their placement in the winner side of this bracket through just clean, phenomenal play. The dive, the team fight, all works out perfectly. Layers in the back line every single time. The only risky play, the only potential coin toss situation is when they get wiped on the Titan, but I think calculated risk there. The Leviathans take a very subdued, demure approach to SMITE, one that we're not used to seeing from them, and it just doesn't work out.
Paul explodes on this Merlin. Layers pops on this Lancelot jungle, showing us how to play it to perfection there. And SOT in the backline bullying the entirety of the Levi's. I mean, over and over and over, we saw this Bellona blink in. Eagles rally over the top and create so much havoc in the backline. I'm curious to hear from Gore and Trelly what they think about this 2-0 Titans victory. Boys?
I think it's a phenomenal win for them, right? I mean, they get to come in, they look good doing it. It feels like it starts out, though, Trelly, this one, a little more in favor of the Titans at the beginning. Or, sorry, the Leviathans at the beginning. Then things start to get out of hand again, and then it follows, admittedly, a very similar trajectory to game number 1.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think Dimes actually did our job. Oh, man, I lost my umbrella. I think Dimes did our job pretty well for us there at the end. I mean, Paul on this Merlin was able to get off in. You know, the 1v1 versus Zapman where he was able to dash in, and Sheento was like, I want to help you, but it seems like you're losing, so I'm going to stay away as much as possible. Giving Layers this Lancelot once again. Criminal, because he was able to pop off once again on this pick. He's just been playing it so well. And unfortunately, I don't think the Serqet was able to do exactly what the Leviathans wanted. No fault of Panitom's, I just don't think that Serqet was the greatest pick into this draft. I think, you know, the pick style of play, where you're just getting one kill and then winning the team fight after, they just really weren't able to execute on that.
I can already hear the groan from Zayden of something about asking anything like this, because it'd be impossible to find. But like, how many times a god got a quadra kill and then was still allowed the next game? Yeah, no, that would take way too long. Well, you know what? I'm gonna say probably too often. In general, and this being one of them, right? That looks really good. Paul is able to have a really, really good performance here on this Merlin as well, with a lot of good rotations. Yeah. Where things just go well for him. Like you said, what was the Sheento just kind of like, yeah, I don't know if I want to do this one.
He's like, I'll throw some damage out, but I'm not going to try and save you. Like, it's your fault. You tried to fight him. That's Paul, man.
Some really fun plays for him. And look, the slash lines, they come out 6-0-2 there for the mid laner, 4-1 and 4 for layers. Nobody else putting themselves on the kill board, but who needs it when everybody else is there? I'm sure the damage numbers are going to reflect some of that. But the CC, the walls, good plays from Aror. And a lot that was set up from CycloneSpin as well and SoloOrTroll. So, I mean, just team plays along with, Paul having a real good performance. It's exactly what you expect. When the Titans win, guess what? It's the same thing as it has been overall. A lot of good players working together. And again, good damage output, at least from Sheento's Zap. Good performance in the first few minutes. Things just fell apart.
Yeah, and even at that first Titan siege where it was like, okay, the Titans, they got the right side bird once again, 3 Phoenixes down, but unfortunately Sheento's ult had just come back up. Massive Dueling Dragons immediately shut it down. Myth highlighted it. They weren't able to grab anything off a play like that because their base was so broken. They had to push out 3 waves of fire minions. They were just never in a winning position. The Titans, they always had a handle on that game.
Well, the Titans win this one 2-0, and they move on to next week immediately into that 8-team bracket, the 4th team today that is going to qualify. We'll figure out who they're going up against, and of course all those other 4 teams tomorrow. But for now, we can talk to Aror and Paul, who we have standing by with Mifflin.
What up, Aror? What up, Paul?
Hello.
Congratulations on your win against the Atlantis Leviathans, reigning world champion. Talk me through the pacing of that set. It felt a little bit slower than I'm used to seeing from both of your teams, really.
Yeah, I don't know. They were just they're the Leviathans, so they like to play a slow game, and we did play a slow game too. So the game went slow.
Yeah, pretty much.
Understood. You know what? I'll take an L on that one. Probably a bad question. All right, easier question. Talk me through that siege attempt, or the final Titan push, or first Titan push in Game 2, where you guys get wiped out. What are you thinking going into that? Are you kind of accepting that it's a risk that you're willing to take, or what's the thought process like?
I think we got a little too ahead of ourselves. We just wanted to end the set, we just wanted to win. And so, yeah, that's when the Dueling Dragons owned us, right?
Yes.
Yes, that's what happened.
Absolutely
We got owned
pwned.
by Dragons twice that game, right? The Dueling Dragons?
Yeah. So
one time in mid and then one time there.
yeah, we're just a little too excited, and then, props to him for punishing it. But yeah, a little too excited. Should have played a little bit slower.
If we got all 3 Phoenixes down, we should have just
Yeah.
waited for the waves, and it would have been really easy.
All right, fair enough. And I promised you one troll question. Paul begged me coming in here. You're on the beach. What are you doing? Are you guys in the water? Paul, you strike me as like sunbathing and reading a book.
Are we on the ocean, or are we like a lake beach?
Ocean beach.
Ocean beach. I'm gonna definitely be in the water.
Okay.
I'm headed home to play some Smite.
My man did not want to be on the beach whatsoever. And you know what, Paul? I'm going to get you out of here, man. Head home. Go play some Smite. Congratulations. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I like that answer, right? The rest of the team could go out. They're having fun. Paul, he's going to stay slamming the Qs or something inside. And you know what? You got AC. He's got all the snacks I'm sure he could want. Maybe feels pretty good. Titans, though, get a 2-0 win here, and they are the 4th team, as mentioned today, that is moving forward immediately to next week. Now, if you're wondering at this point, we've mentioned that. And Trelly, you know what? Maybe you might ask. I mean, you shouldn't ask because you should know, but you might ask. I wonder what's happening to those other teams.
I wonder what's happening to those other
I've
teams.
got some
Jarcorrr.
good news for you. Yeah, they're still playing. Nobody's been eliminated. Well, that's not true. 4 teams got eliminated yesterday. Nobody else has been eliminated since then. All of the teams you saw today still have an opportunity to be able to make it to next week. The Leviathans will have a rematch here against the Wardens, who just won 2-1 yesterday.
What a prize.
Over the Aru Scorpions. For the Leviathans or for the Wardens?
No, a prize for the Wardens, to win their way through
Yeah,
the
you won your
losers
way
bracket.
here. Good luck.
And now you got to face the Leviathans again, who put you in the losers bracket in the first place.
Yeah, so that's going to be an uphill battle. Of course, you've seen that for groups A, B, C, and D. All of the teams that lost today There were actually quite a few rematches. I think only one of them, I want to say, question mark, is going to be a fresh match that we got to see playing a team from the other side of the bracket that they hadn't seen yet so far. So the Kings, the Bolts, the Dragons, and the Titans, they move to week number 2. The Valkyries, the Scarabs, the Warriors, and now the Leviathans are going to have to play tomorrow, Trelly, to keep their tournament hopes alive.
You know, that would be traumatic. You don't want to take an L this early in the tournament. Obviously, take 2 L's more specifically, going home.
2.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's
1 L,
2 whole
they've already
losses.
taken the 1 L. We all witnessed that. And so in a situation like that, yeah, going home this early, you don't want that.
And if my math is right, you said 2 L's to go home. They've already taken 1. That means only 1 more, and they're out.
Hold on. This thing's got a
We gotta
calculator.
look. Not only does it have a calculator, I pinned that thing. That is up there. The Hounds and the Valkyries will kick us off in the morning. The Mambo and the Scarabs, that's going to be a fun rematch to watch. The Ravens and the Warriors, another rematch to watch. And then the Wardens and the Leviathans. All fun games and all tournament lifelines there for them, right? So, I mean, if you lose here, then you're out. Last time around, Scarabs did get eliminated by an SCC team, so keeping your eyes there. Valkyries looked pretty good the other day.
Oh, yeah.
And they look good today, too. So I'm excited to see how they look in the morning. Same for the Warriors and the Levi's. A lot of pressure, I think, on every team that's going to be showing up tomorrow. Those 4 sets will close out week number 1, and then we'll have 8 remaining next Friday. That'll be a whole quarterfinals, then semis, then finals. And boom, we'll find our Summer Masters winner. But for now, it's all about tomorrow, Charlie. Depending on how you want to look at it, positive spin, promo games, negative spin, elimination games. Either way, it's going to be an incredibly fun Sunday. So hopefully you'll tune in tomorrow at 11 right here with the rest of us as we jump into that. But for myself, from Trelly, everyone here in production, that weird, creepy thing that's over there, we'll see you in the morning.